Hi, everyone. Today we're going to talk about another interesting topic, and that is about AI and online debates about AI. Now, if you have spent time reading debates about artificial intelligence online, you might notice something strange. People do argue passionately about AI. They argue whether it's dangerous, revolutionary, unethical, transformative, or meaningless, or anything in between. But if you listen carefully to the conversations, something interesting appears, and that is that many of the arguments are not actually about the same thing. In fact, many people who appear to disagree with each other are often describing completely different systems that happen to share the same label. The term AI has become kind of a linguistic shortcut. It does compress many different technologies into a single word, and behind that word are many systems that operate in very different ways. So, for example, when people criticize AI, they are often thinking about generative systems. Large language models can produce text, for example, or image generation systems can create pictures from prompts. Meanwhile, other people defend AI. They might be thinking about something entirely different as well. They might be thinking about medical diagnostic system that helps basically doctors to detect diseases earlier, or machine learning models that predict equipment failure in aircraft engines, for example. Or let's say as well, recommendation systems that help organize massive information environments. All of those systems are indeed called AI, but they are not the same type of technology. They do use different architectures. They have different constraints, and there are also different types and kinds of risks. But when all those systems to get compressed into a single word, for example, AI, that's where precision starts disappearing. And that's really important because people do start responding not to what others are describing, but rather to assumptions attached to words. One person imagines image generators replacing artists, another imagines diagnostic models helping doctors save lives, or autonomous machines making decisions without human oversight. So each person is reacting to an entirely different system, and the conversation basically treats them as if they're all discussing the same thing. And it is rather a problem about language and symbolism. So when complex technologies enter public discussion, language often simplifies them. And that simplification makes conversations easier to start, but also easier to misunderstand. And in that case, AI becomes less of a technical description and more of a narrative container. And into that container, people pour in hopes, fears, expectations, and frustrations. And the result is basically a debate where participants may sound like they're disagreeing with each other, but in many cases, they are describing different systems. And there is also another layer to that confusion in conversations like that. More than anything, the modern information environment warrants attention. We're all familiar with the fact that online platforms tend to amplify content that triggers strong reactions such as anger, fear, excitement, or outrage. So in this kind of environment, nuance spreads slowly, but emotionally charged statements spread very quickly. So this creates a strange dynamic around technology discussions. Some people speak confidently about systems they do not understand. Others exaggerate risks or benefits because dramatic claims do attract attention. And some conversations are intentionally framed to provoke reactions rather than understanding. In other words, the debate around AI is shaped not only by the technology itself, but also by the incentive structures of the platforms where the discussions take place. When attention becomes the currency of communication, precision often becomes a casualty. And this is why technological literacy becomes increasingly important. Um, Technological literacy does not mean everyone needs to become a machine learning engineer, but it means developing enough understanding to ask clearer questions. What kind of a system is being discussed? What does it rely on? What kind of data? What decisions does it influence? What limitations does it have? Because without a basic level of understanding, a conversation about technology tends to collapse into very simple positions, um, and also people tend to fluctuate between extremes of a miracle or a catastrophe or but this is a complex system that rarely fits into any binary. And when conversations do oscillate between enthusiasm or fear, promise or danger, uh, something important disappears, and that is the essence of a conversation itself. It becomes kind of meaningless as a thing to discuss to begin with. Meaningful discussions about technology require more than a strong opinion. They require precision, curiosity, and willingness to examine how systems actually work. So if we want better conversations about artificial intelligence, the first step is not necessarily choosing a side. It is rather asking a simpler question. When someone says AI, what system are they actually talking about? So I hope that that was interesting. I hope that you learned something new today. It is definitely something that is rather very popular in social media, and especially with places that can divide people's opinions quite easily. So I do encourage to keep questioning things, to keep reading, and to stay informed. Thank you and take care.